On a serene island surrounded by gentle waves and a lavender sky, there stood a very special lighthouse, the Sleepy Lighthouse. It was no ordinary lighthouse. Its light not only guided boats, but also sang lullabies to the entire sea to sleep. The lighthouse's caretaker was Marina, a gentle girl with sandy-colored curly hair tied back with a blue shell. She wore a lilac dress embroidered with tiny starfish and sandals made of soft seaweed. Marina had large, tranquil eyes, like lagoons on a summer night. Every day at sunset, Marina climbed the stone steps to the top of the lighthouse to turn on its magical light. But that night, something was different. When she reached the top, she found the large lighthouse lamp yawning. "Oh my, you really are sleepy, huh?" Marina said, smiling. The light flickered slowly, and a soft voice answered, like a breeze among seashells. "I'm so tired. The waves keep whispering stories. I haven't been able to sleep all day." Marina thought deeply. A sleepy lighthouse could be dangerous for ships and the dreamy fish that swam following its light. It was then that she heard a sound outside. Splash, splash, splash. She looked out the window and saw the waves approaching, shimmering in pale blue and silver, as if they were alive. And they were. One by one, the gentle waves came to the base of the lighthouse. "Hello, Marina," a wave said in a soft, foamy voice. "We sensed the lighthouse was tired. We've come to help." Marina's eyes widened. "Can you help? How?" The waves smiled. "Let's rock the lighthouse with our back and forth. Let's sing lullabies to the sound of the tide. He just needs a peaceful nap and someone to take care of the island in the meantime." Marina placed her hand on her heart and said tenderly, "Then I'll take care of him, and you take care of the sea. Together, we'll ensure everyone has sweet dreams tonight." And so began a magical night where sleepy lights, singing waves, and a girl with a calm heart worked in harmony to illuminate the dreams of everyone around. As night fell slowly like a cotton blanket over the ocean, Marina carefully descended the steps of the lighthouse. High above, the magical light now rested, emitting only a soft, tranquil glow, like a firefly dreaming. The gentle waves surrounded the island, rising and falling calmly. Some sang lullabies with tidal voices. Others carried bits of shells, starfish, and scents of sea lavender to the edge of the sand. Marina walked along the white beach with a bluish light lantern. The lantern was special, made from sea bottle glass and lit with a sliver of moonlight. Beside her walked her faithful friend, Luma, a seagull with gray feathers and serene eyes who never flew during the day but loved to wander at night. "The waves are singing softer today," Luma said with a soft chirp. "They're lulling the lighthouse to sleep," Marina replied. "But the sea seems different, calmer, almost asleep." They stopped before a large, snail-shaped rock. From within it came a soft melody, like a harp played by fingers of mist. It was the sound of the heart of the ocean, a place where all the sea's memories gathered at night. Marina sat beside the rock and closed her eyes for a moment. That's when she heard it. A new voice, soft as mist and sweet as a whale song. "Marina, Marina." She opened her eyes and saw a luminous figure emerge from the waters. It was Undina, a guardian of the Sea of Dreams, made of shimmering foam and hair like strands of pale coral. Her eyes were as deep as tranquil abysses, and her voice seemed to calm even the winds. The lighthouse is in good rest, my dear, but its light is connected to the ocean's dreams. For it to awaken renewed, you will need to visit the 3 whispers of the waters. 3 whispers? Marina asked curiously. Undina smiled. One is hidden in the shell of a sleeping turtle. Another in the floating nest of the calm waters. And the third, well, that one is hidden in the very reflection of the moon. Should I find them? Marina placed her hand on her chest, feeling the heat of responsibility. Yes. Each whisper contains a song the lighthouse needs to hear while it sleeps. Only then will it shine with all its heart again. Luma, the seagull, flapped her wings gently. Then let's go together. Marina smiled and stood up. Let's sing with the sea. Let's awaken the whispers of the night. And so, with the moonlight lantern in her hands and her heart filled with calm courage, Marina set off on the first stage of her journey, an adventure of silence, dreams, and melodies hidden among the waves. Marina walked along the damp sand as the moon slowly rose in the sky, spreading a silvery glow over the waves. Luma flew low, gliding gently beside her. The air smelled of sweet sea air and sea lavender. To find the first whisper, we need the turtle that dreams of stars, Marina said softly. Luma chirped thoughtfully. They say she sleeps on a hidden reef where time passes slowly like a lullaby. Marina nodded and followed the sound of the slower waves until she found a trail of small footprints in the sand, surrounded by heart-shaped shells. At the end of the trail was a cove hidden by smooth rocks covered in shiny sea moss. There, under the starry sky, slept a huge sea turtle with a shimmering shell. Its shell looked like the sky itself, dark blue dotted with golden specks that sparkled like stars. That's her, Marina whispered in wonder. The turtle breathed slowly, and with each sigh, small bubbles rose into the sky like floating dreams. Marina approached carefully and placed her hand on the warm shell. Instantly, a soft light enveloped her fingers, and a voice echoed within her heart. First song, the whisper of slow time. The turtle opened one eye calmly. Its eyes were deep and tranquil, like the bottom of a lake in the late afternoon. Marina, have you come to seek the first song? She asked, her voice like velvet and low tide. Yes, the lighthouse is sleeping, and we need to lull its dreams with the 3 songs of the sea, the girl replied. The turtle smiled slowly and then began to sing, not with words, but with a gentle vibration that warmed the air around it like a hug. It was an ancient song, full of memory and tenderness. The waves around it slowed, the wind stopped to listen. Even the stars seemed to twinkle more slowly, as if they wanted to dream too. When the song ended, the turtle yawned and closed her eyes again. Keep this whisper close. It teaches that even light needs rest to shine again, she said, before falling asleep again. On the shell necklace Marina wore around her neck, one of them glowed with a blue-gold light, a sign that the first whisper now lived within her. Marina smiled, moved. We have won. Now, the floating nest of the calm waters. Luma circled calmly above her. The path is long but serene. Let us sail to the rhythm of our hearts. And with that, the two of them walked along the sleeping beach, guided by the moonlight and the first melody of the ocean. Marina and Luma followed the tranquil shore, where the waves kissed the sand with a calm, continuous sound, like a dream clock. The shell on Marina's necklace still glowed with the light of the first whisper, warm and soft like an embrace. Now we need to find the floating nest of the calm waters, Marina said, looking out at the silvery sea. Luma flew in slow circles and pointed with her beak. There, where the water looks like a mirror and the silence sings. Before them, the ocean formed a large bay where the waves didn't break. Instead, they rocked gently like liquid cradles. In the center of this bay was a small archipelago of floating cushions made of giant water lily leaves, connected by strands of foam. It was the floating nest. Marina climbed aboard one of the leaves carefully. They were surprisingly firm and fragrant with the scent of jasmine and sea salt. As soon as she touched the surface, she felt a deep calm invade her body, as if time itself were dozing there. In the center of the nest rested a serene figure, a magical sea creature named Sleepy, with a body of translucent water and eyes closed as if she had been dreaming for centuries. Her hair looked like a mixture of seaweed and clouds, and in her lap was a small shell drum vibrating gently with the ocean's breath. Marina approached and sat silently. She knew that in this place, words must be as soft as the night wind. Luma landed beside her and whispered, "The second whisper is here. It lives in the drum, but it only wakes with gentle gestures." Marina closed her eyes and began to tap lightly on her moonlight lantern, creating a rhythmic sound like the beating of a calm heart. The shell drum responded with a soft echo, and slowly Sleepy opened her eyes. She said nothing. She simply smiled with deep tenderness and began to play her drum with fingers as light as foam. The melody was different from the previous one. It was round, comforting, and reminiscent of being nestled between blankets after a long day. It was the song of welcome, the whisper that taught that rest is also a home. When she finished, Sleepy handed the drum to Marina. "Keep this song. It will be yours when the lighthouse needs to remember its way back to itself." The second shell on Marina's necklace glowed with a pink and navy blue like the sky before dawn. "Thank you," Marina said, her voice almost whispered. She waved goodbye and returned to the shore with Luma. "Two whispers are already singing with us. Now the last one is missing," the girl said, her eyes shining. Luma nodded, looking up at the sky. "The most mysterious, the one that sleeps in the reflection of the moon." And so, guided by the brightness of the stars and the melody of the sea drum, Marina and her faithful seagull headed toward the deepest part of the night, where the sky and the sea meet to dream together. The night was now deep and gentle, the sky dotted with soft stars. Marina walked along an ancient wooden walkway that stretched over the calm sea, lit only by the moonlight lantern in her hands and the light of the seashells she now carried. Two already glowed, and a third waited silently for its song. Luma flew slowly above her, in slow circles, as if she too were dreaming. "Only a whisper left," Marina said softly. "The one that lives in the moon's reflection." The walkway ended at a small floating platform. Around it, the sea was so smooth that it reflected everything like a magic mirror. Marina knelt and looked at the surface. There it was, the full moon, enormous and silent, floating on the ocean as if it had descended to sleep with the waves. But something was different. The reflection moved on its own. Marina's eyes widened. From the mirror of water, a delicate, shining figure emerged. It was the Lady of the Reflected Moon, made entirely of liquid light and transparent veils that danced even without wind. She seemed weightless, and her eyes were two small moons that seemed to see into dreams. "Marina, you have reached the end of the path of silence. The last whisper sleeps here in the glow of things that cannot be touched, only felt." Marina fell silent. Instinctively, she reached out and touched the surface of the water. The moon's reflection trembled and then transformed into 1,000 shimmering notes floating in the air like stardust. The lady smiled and began to spin slowly over the sea, dancing with her feet that didn't sink. With each step, a new note emerged, and together they formed a melody as soft as the sighs of seashells. It was the song of the return to inner radiance, the third whisper. A melody that said, without words, "Even asleep, the light still exists. It just waits for the right moment to shine again." Marina felt soft tears in her eyes. They weren't of sadness, but of beauty, of deep understanding. She knew that the lighthouse and all of us sometimes needed sleep to remember who we are when we wake up. The last shell on the necklace shone brightly with a silver and gold light, like the moon on a calm sea. The Lady of the Reflected Moon slowly disappeared into the mirror, leaving only a cool breeze and a shimmer floating in the air. Marina stood slowly, looking up at the sky. "I have the 3 songs." Luma landed on her shoulder, nestling there tenderly. "And now, it's time to go home." Guided by the light of the shells and the soft music that now lived within her, Marina took her first steps back to the Sleepy Lighthouse, where dreams were about to awaken. The trail back to the lighthouse felt different now, softer, as if the path itself knew Marina carried something precious with her, the 3 songs of the ocean. Each step echoed with the sound of shells. Each breeze seemed to softly hum the melodies she held. Luma, her faithful companion, flew just above, tracing circles of light in the air with the tips of her wings. When Marina reached the base of the Sleepy Lighthouse, the sky was beginning to lighten. It wasn't yet dawn, but that magical moment between night and day, when the world whispers secrets and time seems to stretch like a yawn. She climbed the steps slowly, feeling the ancient structure vibrate gently beneath her feet. The lighthouse was breathing, sleeping, yes, but about to awaken. At the top, The great lamp still yawned silently. Its light was dim, like a tired star. Marina approached carefully, holding the necklace with the 3 shells now glowing brightly. "I'm back," she said tenderly, "and I brought what you needed to dream in order to awaken." She touched the first shell. A slow, deep melody filled the air, the whisper of the turtle, teaching that time can rest. Then she touched the second, a soft, comforting beat, the whisper of the floating nest, reminding us that rest is also home. And finally, the third, a dance of silvery notes like the shine of happy tears, the whisper of the moon's reflection, telling us that even in darkness, light lives in silence. The 3 songs floated around the sleeping lamp. It began to pulse, slowly at first, then more vividly. A warm light emerged in its center, expanding like the sun rising from within. Then, with a soft crack, the lighthouse awoke. Its light flared with a soft golden glow, not blinding, but welcoming, like the first ray of sunlight after a good dream. The lighthouse spoke in a calm, now renewed voice. "Thank you, Marina. I fell asleep to sweet music, and now I can shine again." Outside, the sea responded with a soft, unisoning splash, as if the waves had also awakened. Marina smiled, her heart light. We all need a rest, even the light. Luma chirped happily and perched on the railing, watching the endless sea now shimmer under the new day. As the sky began to take on shades of pink and gold, Marina sat there, beside the awakened light, listening to the sea tell its last dreams. And for the first time in a long time, the lighthouse didn't just illuminate the paths, it also dreamed awake. The sun hadn't yet fully risen, but the sky was already showing its first colors: soft pink, pale yellow, and a shy blue that spread like watercolor. Atop the lighthouse, Marina watched the horizon as the newly awakened light gently swirled, casting golden sparkles over the calm waters. Luna landed beside her with an envelope tucked into her wing feathers. She chirped softly and dropped it into the girl's lap. "A letter?" Marina asked, surprised. The envelope was made of seagrass paper and sealed with a dried starfish. Opening it, Marina found words written in pearl ink. "Dear Marina, you heard the whispers, played the songs, and awakened the light with tenderness. In gratitude, the sea wants to show you its own dreams. Follow the smiles of the shells. By Ondina." Marina smiled, moved. She got up and climbed down from the lighthouse, heading for the beach. There, she found a trail made of colorful, smile-shaped shells, each facing in the right direction, guiding her steps. She followed the path, and the shells began to vibrate gently, making little sounds, plink, 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 like the giggles of the sea. As if they were excited that Marina had completed her mission. The trail led to a small cove hidden among rocks covered in shimmering moss. In the center was an enchanted tide pool where reflections danced as if they had their own life. Marina knelt at the edge of the water and peered in. She saw images floating on the surface. the lighthouse sleeping like a baby shrouded in mist, the turtle dreaming of stars, the floating leaves cradling sleeping creatures, and the lady of the reflected moon dancing upon the silver sea. And then she saw herself. But something was different. Marina had her eyes closed, lying in a hammock of soft seaweed, being rocked by the gentle waves. She was dreaming too. And it was at that moment that she understood the sea had also saved a dream especially for her, a gift for her kindness, her calm courage, and her luminous tenderness. Luna landed on her shoulder and said with a sweet chirp, "The sea cares for those who care for it." Marina closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The sound of the waves, the smiles of the shells, and the songs she carried in her necklace formed a new melody, one that spoke of gratitude, of friendship, and the power of small, silent dreams. When she opened her eyes, the tide had left a single special shell on the sand. It was golden with a lighthouse design in its center. Marina picked it up and placed it among the others on her necklace. "A memory of the sea that dreams," she whispered. And with a light heart, she returned home, knowing that even after waking, her dreams remained alive in every wave, in every light, in every soft step on the sand.
It was late afternoon again. The sun, round and orange like a sleeping peach, was sinking below the horizon as the sky prepared to don its dark blue mantle. Marina sat at the base of the lighthouse, her feet dipping in the shallow, warm water of high tide. Around her, the world seemed suspended in time. Everything calm, everything gentle, everything waiting for dreams. Luma pecked at the last petals of a sea flower, humming softly. Marina's necklace now glittered with 4 shells, the 3 of the sea's whispers and the golden one, the gift of the tide. Suddenly, a different breeze blew over the island, fresh, fragrant, smelling of moonlight and wind from above. Marina looked up and saw something extraordinary. The stars were descending from the sky, not falling, but floating. They were small creatures of light, sparkling and laughing, gliding through the air in slow spirals. Some landed on the dunes, others on the branches, and one of them, very small and shy, sat gently on Marina's shoulder. "Hi," she said, her voice like a rattle. "You're the guardian of the light that sleeps and wakes, aren't you?" Marina smiled, surprised and delighted. "I think so," she replied. Another star landed beside Luma, who didn't seem to mind. She just closed her eyes and purred softly, as if she'd known these visitors for a long time. "We've come to play," said a third star, spinning in the air like a ballerina. "Today is the night of open dreams. Every 100 nights the sky visits the sea and invites those who care for the light to dance." Marina was amazed. "I've never heard of that." The star laughed as if a bell had rung. "Because it only happens when the lighthouse dreams, the sea sings, and someone like you watches over the silence between them." Then something even more incredible happened. The stars gathered around the lighthouse and it began to dance. Not with legs, but with light. Golden, lilac and blue beams swirled around the tower like dream ribbons. The lighthouse light didn't just shine, now it played. Marina was enveloped by this gentle movement. She floated for a moment, carried by the stars, and saw from above her island the sea, the nest of the calm waters, the turtle reef, and the reflection of the moon. She laughed light as a flying shell, and the stars laughed with her. The night of open dreams was more than a dance. It was a reminder that even guardians need to play, that even amidst sweet responsibilities, laughter must dwell, and that the stars also descend to say, "Thank you." When it was all over, the stars said goodbye in silence, rising back into the sky with a final soft glow. Marina, now sitting by the sea again, hugged Luma and said with eyes full of tenderness, "I think today the sky and the sea dreamed together." And that night the lighthouse turned slowly as if it was still dancing even awake.
The morning after the night of open dreams, Marina awoke to the sound of soft drops. Not rain, but tiny drops of seawater hitting the rocks as if ringing bells. She stretched on the porch of her little house next to the lighthouse and took a deep breath. The air carried a new scent, something like ocean mint with petals of a fresh breeze. Luma was perched on the railing, gazing at the horizon with alert eyes. "The sea is different today," Marina said. Luma chirped softly and pointed with her beak to the large rocks on the east coast of the island, a place Marina rarely visited. They were called the Whispering Rocks because on certain days they seemed to murmur words with the help of the wind. Guided by intuition and the calm curiosity that always resided in her heart, Marina followed the trail between shells and soft moss until she reached the rocks. They were enormous and ancient, covered in golden lichen and small glowing markings that only appeared when the sun rose behind them. She pressed her ear to one of them, and as if in a whispering secret, heard, "The light doesn't live only above, Marina. It also lives below, in the rocks that listen, in the stories no one has told." "A forgotten song?" Marina whispered. From within a crevice, a small creature emerged. It was a deep-tide snail with a spiral shell made of deep-sea crystal. Its eyes blinked slowly and it spoke in a deep, sleepy voice. "We keep stories, many, that the lighthouse has already forgotten." Marina bent down, enchanted. "Stories from the lighthouse?" The snail nodded slowly. Before he slept, he sang these stories every night. Now that he's awake, perhaps he wants to remember. From the snail's shell, a small melody emerged, different from the previous whispers. This one was older, full of echoes and memories. Marina closed her eyes and saw an ancient fisherman lighting the lighthouse with a star that fell from the sky. A giant whale resting beneath the island to listen to bedtime stories. Dreamy children who left bottles with wishes by the seashore, hoping the lighthouse would respond with light. She opened her eyes, moved. These are the memories of the lighthouse. The snail slowly withdrew. "Take one, whichever you want. Hold it tenderly, for memory is also light." Marina chose the memory of the fisherman's star. It was soft, bright, and warm. When she picked it up, it transformed into a small, sparkling stone, which Marina placed in the pocket of her dress. On her way back, she looked at the lighthouse with a new look. "You have stories, secrets, and dreams, and I want to cherish them all." And the lighthouse
as if listening, turned on its light in a more golden hue than usual, no longer just to guide, but now also to remind. The days passed slowly, like calm boats gliding over an unhurried sea. Ever since Marina awakened the light of the Sleepy Lighthouse with the 3 songs of the ocean, something new had been born on the island, an even more beautiful silence. It wasn't the silence of absence, but a silence filled with presence, like the sound of an embrace or the space between 2 gentle notes. Marina tended to her routine with tenderness. She collected smiling shells left by the waves, lit the moonlight lantern at dusk, and conversed with the stars when Luma landed on her shoulder with messages from heaven. But on one special night, unlike any other, the lighthouse turned on its light early, a soft, milky glow, almost like a mist scented with vanilla and sea flowers. Marina felt a sweet vibration in the air, like an ancient yawn. She climbed the stone steps carefully, sensing something was about to happen. Up at the top, the lighthouse's light rotated slowly, as if dancing within a dream. As Marina approached, the lamp shone one last time, and then closed in light. It didn't go out, it just closed its eyes. "Are you sleeping again?" Marina asked, smiling. A soft voice answered from within the glow. "Yes, but now I sleep with memories. I sleep with songs. I sleep knowing someone watches over me." Marina placed the memory stone in the center of the lighthouse, next to the shells that held the whispers, and then she sat beside the sleeping light as if keeping company with a dear friend in need of rest. Luma flew to the top of the tower, perching on the spinner as if to watch the entire sky for a night. On the beach, the gentle waves sang softly. On the reef, the turtle dreamed of new stars. In the leaves of the floating nest, the creature of the calm waters played a drum that now had Marina's melody. And in the moon's reflection, the lady floated silently, watching tenderly. Marina, her eyes half open, began to doze off too, lulled by the song of the sea. And so, on that night, where everything was in its place, the lighthouse slept again, not out of exhaustion, but out of trust. Because now it knew its light lived in Marina's heart too, and whenever she closed her eyes, the whole world would continue to shine in silence. The end. you.